They're not touching
The
that.
best. They have the best IT security, the best physical security. They have everything for that.
Yeah.
I feel like what was that show, Mr. Robot? I feel like we're just desperate for like a Mr. Robot like scenario to happen right now.
Honestly, I don't think people are gonna pay the student loans. I think a lot of people just made peace. Like, you know what? Y'all just gonna have to take this L. I'm not paying it back.
I didn't know like some 90% of student loans are owned by the federal government.
Yep, they are.
I didn't know that either. That's nuts.
That's just a nuts stat. Like, I don't know what Joe Biden is saying. He does not have the authority to erase student loans when it's owned by the federal government.
It's like the more it's one of those things where you have to think about the federal government owes the most money, not a foreign country, to its damn self, to Social Security.
Yeah, to itself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird to think about.
Like we're in debt, we owe ourselves, literally owe ourselves.
Yeah, which is why we can never like truly default on it, because we're gonna come after ourselves. So there's gonna be like a civil war or something. All right. So let me start the podcast. This is episode 37 of the Liberalish podcast. We're still in season 2. I'm back with my guys. What's going on? Big shout out to the King of Brooklyn here. Ryan, how's it going?
The King of Brooklyn.
You don't want to be the King of Brooklyn?
Nah, man.
I'm sorry. I just watched the King of Staten Island, so that's why I was like trying to like.
Kings die, man. I'm too lovable.
Kings are immortal when you think about it. It's real deep. You're like, no.
I like immortal is a trash, bro.
You're like, no. All right.
You saw Game of Thrones. You saw Joffrey.
All right. We got the president of the Brooklyn Borough, Ryan, over here in the building.
There, I like that more.
All right. Shout out to Mr. President over here. Powerless position like a king, but still shout out to him. All right. And we got
that coming for me.
You're right. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the big boss, Marcus over here. Shout out to Marcus.
Yo.
And then in the backgrounds, producer he's back from the dead. He's over in the background. You might hear him here and there. Just tune him out when you do. All right, so let's just silence him. Mute his mic. All right.
Yeah, alone, man.
So we were talking about before we officially started the podcast. We could not access Instagram yesterday, meaning that for me, I could not access a lot of my political news. I follow a lot of political IG pages. I know for you guys, you cannot follow your IG models. So how did this outage impacted you guys? Did you guys even notice at all?
Personally, I deactivated Instagram on Sunday because I needed to concentrate. So for grad school, I only use WhatsApp to talk to my Jamaican family. It was a break from not getting chain messages. So
those little prayer messages.
Those prayer messages for 2 minutes.
Have a blessed day today.
Facebook, I only use Facebook to keep up with what niggas in the hood is still doing. Like, it was calm. It really affected me once Twitter wasn't down. When Twitter was kind of glitchy for a moment, man, I was tight. I was like, not you, bro.
I dead ass only use Facebook to see how much better I'm doing over with the people I graduated high school with.
That's a good use for it though, compared to what
I'm like, people are using it for. You got 3 kids?
Right.
Oh, man.
Oh shit, you went to the community college? Oh, okay, cool. Good for you, buddy.
Oh, wow, you just got out of rehab, man. Shouts to you. I'm happy for you, man. Good for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Important steps, man.
Oh man. Shout out to the cool kids.
Shouts to them. I mean, personally, I only use Instagram to look at golf models. So I didn't really have to look at it yesterday, which is kind of good. It kind of freed up, a lot of my downtime that I use between meetings and calls. So it was good. I actually think it was a nice cleansing kind of effect, not having to look at my social media for as many hours as I do. I don't look at the Apple notification every week that says whatever my usage is. But no, it was good. It was good to not have to look at Instagram, and I don't even think I use Facebook as at all really. And shoot, on WhatsApp I just text some family, but it was good. It was good not to be on it as much.
So I have a conspiracy theory. Not even a conspiracy theory. That's a hill that I'm gonna die on.
What is it?
The reason why that outage was yesterday was that Facebook, Instagram, the whole conglomerate, right? that group, Facebook owned group, were burning documents, deleting files, shredding documents, and had to shut down the whole operation just for a day to do some spring cleaning because of what the whistleblower did the night before. Look how coincident. I don't believe in coincidence, man. I never see a cow in an incident before.
It doesn't. I mean, it's not the craziest thing. You can definitely see somebody, thinking that they're just deleting, maybe some incriminating information, and maybe it just hits the wrong file,
50
the
page
wrong
of nothing
application.
but I think
They
one
said
of the
it was
most,
internal, right?
yeah,
They came out and said it was an internal flaw or internal mistake somebody made.
I think that the study is more damning than people actually think it is, because the study that they conducted on their own application, I know like the teenage kids feeling like they're not good enough, blah blah blah, is serious. But when you think about it, their studies show that Facebook was promoting genocide in Myanmar with the with the crisis.
Yeah, they were.
So it just confirmed that. I know there were outside studies that said the same thing, but they just confirmed it.
Yeah,
With their internal
their own
looks.
study. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg needs to be brought up on war trial at The Hague.
Whoa.
Okay. I mean,
look, when during the Rwandan crisis, the guy from the radio station, he had no part in it. All he did was just promote genocidal things, propaganda. That's all Facebook been doing. There's probably 100,000 people dead, blood on their hands because of this. Ruin a lot of elections, all of that. Their study basically confirmed everything.
So,
but is that actually the fault of is it fair to put that on one person, or when it's just an algorithm?
It's algorithm
are just giving people what they want,
right? Because like YouTube's guilty of that too.
I think the myth behind algorithm is that, oh, it's just the algorithm doing what the algorithm does, but we're missing the key part. It's like, can coding be racist? Can application be racist? Oh, yes, 1,000%. They can, because they're being coded, and these algorithms are being created by somebody creating it, like a creator. So the creator, it's whatever app, whatever design, whatever algorithm is going to be reflected off the creator's biases. So of course, I feel like Facebook know what they're doing. They knew this. They got Trump elected.
Well, yes, they got Trump elected, but is any of this really surprising? I don't know. Maybe
I'm not saying it's surprising. I'm saying
too much.
Mark Zuckerberg, something needs to happen. They need to break this up. At least break it up.
Well, okay, so that was go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that Facebook has just an impossible task, and I think that this is kind of it's very hard to kind of control for this issue, which is you have 2 billion users all creating this original content. There's no real good way to moderate it internally. They've tried to throw money at it, throw bodies at it to kind of moderate this content, and they haven't been up to the task up to this point. I think that at the very least, just to kind of maintain the platform and make sure that it's something that people want to use. I think it begs for external government regulation, because it's something that they are struggling with internally.
So, Marcus, it sounds like you rather favor more regulations as opposed to like breaking it up. Is that correct?
Break it up, man.
I mean, you can break it up. I just don't, especially since the companies that Facebook has purchased, Instagram, Oculus, WhatsApp. I mean, these aren't companies that developed internally. It's not like with Google, with their other platforms that have kind of helped to turn it into a giant in the tech world, or Amazon with AWS. So I can understand the arguments. I'm definitely sympathetic to that argument, but I'd much rather I think we can, if you regulate it, it's something that, if you can regulate Facebook, you can, apply those same structures, that same top-down regulation to Instagram, to a WhatsApp, to, Oculus isn't there yet, but if it ever blows up, you can apply that to Oculus as well.
I'd rather just start.
2 points.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
So how do you regulate a company like Facebook? I think one of the things about Facebook is like the reason it wins, the reason Google wins, the reason Amazon wins is because they move at lightning speed. They're optimized to move at lightning speed. There's very few companies that can keep up with the speed that you get from Facebook. How do you have government move at the same speed?
And my other question after that for you, Marcus, is do you think that Facebook, do you think like companies like Amazon and Facebook, and like AT&T should be qualified as monopolies?
Those are very good
Well,
questions.
AT&T definitely, if you're looking at like a cable point of view or Wi-Fi point of view, yes,
Oh,
it
I
is
can
a
actually,
monopoly.
I can ask answer Ryan's question, because didn't they just sell off HBO, and aren't they going to split off the Direct TV because it's not working? That
Yes.
strategy did not work out at all.
Yeah,
I
that's
believe they sold H. I believe they sold off Warner Media to the Discover Group, maybe a month or so ago. And I think they're also, the CEO came out and said that, that strategy of this kind of like vertical integration where you offer, cable or television as well as entertainment packages and bundle it together doesn't work. So AT&T, I don't think would be qualified as a monopoly. Amazon is getting there. Obviously, there are other places that you can buy from, but
Would you?
Amazon's size and power, I think they're getting to the point where it's hard to call them not a monopoly.
And I think this
Uh,
is my next point to clarify and go into regulation.
yeah,
I feel like if we're going to regulate companies like Facebook or Amazon, we have to redefine what we think of what is a monopoly. Because it's clear that Facebook is a monopoly. They don't own the whole social media space, but they own such a large percentage of the space that we need to redefine like complete dominance over a sector and owning a large sector of owning a large section of a sector, because Facebook is definitely say 75% of mainstream social media. They have WhatsApp, one of the most used messenger app. They have Instagram, one of the most app. They got their own platform, the OG platform for say in Facebook. They got Oculus Rift in the gaming world. Can we keep operating like that? Can we keep operating with Facebook on a step-by-step basis, buying these up and coming social media network as they emerge? And the same thing with Amazon, buying
yeah.
out these mom and pops, killing all of them and stuff like that.
Mm. I
That's a
have a
good
devil's
question.
advocate. I have a devil's advocate for at least for Facebook here.
Yeah.
If we are making the regulations argument, won't that not infringe on like freedom of speech?
How so?
Well, it's
I
like the whole
mean,
purpose of like Facebook is just freedom of speech. It's like an open platform where you can communicate and talk whatever.
how
If we're saying we're going
That's
to
the
regulate it, doesn't that kind
that's
of
the
infringe on freedom of speech?
I believe that's the section. Isn't that what the Section 230 regulation that that's prevents them from getting sued for anything?
I
I think that's why
believe so.
that's why it's been discussed in the last year or so, because there are people that do want to sue it. Especially, I know after the Newtown shootings, and Alex Jones kind of used those multiple platforms to spew conspiracy theories about those families of the victims. I think that's one of the reasons why people wanted to bring a suit, but they were protected by 230. And now, and it kind of re-entered the news last year because Trump was removed from the platform,
I,
and
mhm.
conservatives were saying, "Oh, we're being deplatformed," and that's where the kind of debate came from.
Right.
But I don't know if, but again, if you take away 230, then I think that kind of opens them up to being
To being
regulated. I mean,
sued, right?
into being sued and being held accountable for the damage that they're inflicting on society.
I think my practical application of the Second Amendment wouldn't qualify that to be a regulation, um, like a this to the Second Amendment, because I don't think that would sell it, because you're not destroying Instagram. You're just giving it to open to another leader, or like you're selling Instagram. So Instagram is still there and it's saying whatever. It's just not being run and owned by Mark Zuckerberg and his UFOs. So it wouldn't qualify for a Second Amendment exception in that case.
That's fair. No, that's absolutely
No,
fair.
that's true. That's true. Um, but no, I think that's. I do want to get back to Yao's question too, because I do think because this all kind of runs together in this question of how do you regulate these companies? Are they monopolies? How are we defining monopolies? I think that the one issue that we have, and Ryan, I'm sure you can speak to this since I think you're a little more versed in law than I am, but we've kind of come to this idea that's a monopoly is okay as long as it doesn't affect customer experience and really prices. How does it affect consumers? If it's good for the consumer, then we just kind of let the monopoly kind of grow and fester. That's why Amazon's been able to kind of dominate the book sector. It's why Apple and has been able to do whatever they want to do in the phone and tech sector, really with the App Store, um, where their monopoly is kind of okay because it's not hurting consumers, though it may hurt developers. Uh, I think that we should definitely need to revisit these things because tech is, again, I think these tech companies, because they've been able to grow so strong, so much larger and so much more powerful over the last decade or so, really, our laws just aren't keeping pace with them, especially when you have, look at Congress. It's not young people that are kind of well versed in what's going on in Silicon Valley. You need younger people. You need people that know what's going on. The Finsta thing is a good example. You have a congressman who does not know what that is,
Right?
and that's who's charged with regulating these things, right? So we kind of have to catch up to them and find people that are, well versed in these communities, well versed in these sectors, who are able to write laws that can kind of restrain them more and keep them from having these negative effects that we've been seeing over the last five or so, really last decade.
So if I understand your point correctly, though, you're saying in the next 20 years when millennials get power, that's when we could go back and regulate like Facebook and like Amazon, these big tech companies.
I'm hoping it's a lot sooner than the next 20 years.
Hopefully. Optimistic over here.
I'm hopeful that it's a lot, but who knows? The way people live forever, especially these congressmen, they are not fading fast at all.
I mean, look at the senator from Iowa. Yeah, he's going for another term.
Grassley, right?
Grassley, Chuck Grassley,
yeah. I mean, it's difficult to. I don't know when we'll be able to kind of take the reins back, but yeah, we definitely need younger people, at least that are on these staff, that are able to write laws that make sense for what's happening in the tech sector, rather than just kind of letting them run roughshod and build these monopolies, which is these businesses' goals. They do want to have the most power and the most success that they possibly can, even if it crushes all of their competitors.
Right.
And there's nothing that as long as they're not hurting consumers, we've kind of as politically from a regulatory standpoint have allowed it. So
yeah,
I'm not sure there's anything wrong with that, but yeah, we should do it before we're in our 50s. I'll be in my 50s. We should do it well before then, I'd hope.
Yeah, I know that Richard Blumenthal is the most wealthiest person in Congress.
From Connecticut?
Well, one of the wealthiest.
I thought Mark Warner was the most from Virginia, was the wealthiest.
I think
it's like 130 million, 140 million, I want to say.
I think it's probably interchangeable because Blumenthal has a net worth of 100 million plus.
I thought Manchin was going to be up there on that list. I guess I was wrong.
He only got that little West Virginia coal money. Like, that can't be.
That don't go nowhere.
I mean, his daughter is like head of like a big pharmaceutical company. I think the EpiPen.
She's head of the company.
Oh, is she really?
Maybe we got to go back to those Panama Papers and see what the offshore bank
Panama Papers is wild, man.
The Pandora Papers that just dropped, right?
Sorry, Pandora Papers.
Yep. Yeah, well, there's two. There's the Panama Papers were a few years ago.
A couple years ago, yeah.
Now we got the Pandora Papers to tell us what we already knew, which is rich people don't pay taxes.
They don't pay taxes, right?
Lucky them.
Seriously, I'm trying to start an offshore shell account here.
Exactly.
Let's do that. Let's do that with what you expect. All right. So, all right, let's go into something a little, I guess we were on something serious here. All right, so let's go on to something pretty funny here. So later last week, Manchin was on his yacht or houseboat, that's still up for debate, docked out in DC, and protesters kayaked over to his boat, and they were protesting the fact that he's opposing a $3.5 trillion people spending bill. And Manchin, while on his yacht or houseboat, told the protesters, "I agree, rich people need to pay their fair share."
From his almost heaven boat?
From his almost heaven boat.
Almost heaven.
So
yeah, I don't. It's sad that that's not the worst thing that Joe Manchin did over the last couple weeks.
Yep.
Like, that's actually pretty tame that he actually, at least he allowed them to talk to him. Most congressmen just run away from their constituents. He actually decided, I'm going to have a conversation with you boat people.
Yeah. So here's my beef with mainstream media is that I think they're so focused on the price dollar of the people spending bill or the Build Back Better bill. Sure. Yep. But Bernie Sanders made a good point. When it comes to defense spending, we spend a lot more per year than what we'll be doing on this Build Back Better plan, and we really don't hear people.
Isn't it like a 10-year plan?
It's a
So all of this,
10-year
so
spending
all of this
plan
money
for
won't,
3.5
won't
trillion dollars. That's correct.
all of,
Yep.
it's probably like less than $500 billion, less than half the military
Right.
budget.
Right. You're
Right.
100% right. Yeah. You're 100% right. And like we don't hear like a peep about like the defense spending and whatsoever. And no one really in the mainstream media is bringing out the fact that like is Manchin opposing this bill because of his own ties with like corporations that back him. Like that should pretty much be it. If the majority of the, like we Democrats voted for Biden to pass this bill. Like a majority of the country voted for Biden, and Biden said, "I'm going to do this." This is a popular bill. Why the hell? This is such a broken system where like one person from a state that didn't even vote for Biden can like hold it back
I have a
and then
question for
restrict
y'all.
the spending on it.
Yeah, I think Joe Manchin is more powerful than Joe Biden in this current climate.
Yes.
He essentially has
Yes,
veto
yes.
power over what Biden wants to get done.
Yeah, that's very true. Yep. He has veto power.
Biden can still, he can do what he can through executive orders, but anything like big bills like this, we're saying Manchin could just be like, I don't like it. Bring this number down. Him and Sinema are just like, we run the shit here.
I also think that like one, I don't think Manchin and Sinema are alone. I do think there's other senators, at least on the Democratic side, that feel their same sentiment, or at least they have the similar corporate donors, but they're not as publicly vocal as these two are. So I do think there's that. And I think like when we had like that minimum wage voting thing that Bernie did, that kind of exposed like, okay, who are our kind of a corporate Democrats or conservative Democrats like in the Senate. So I don't think they're alone. And also I think Biden's kind of like empowering them a little bit, right? So I know Biden's been shooting like a jab here or there, but like, Biden from the bully pulpit can at least say, hey, get rid of the filibuster, do something along those lines.
Fuck.
Hey man, I'm gonna say probably get me canceled, but Mitch McConnell could control a party a lot better than Chuck Schumer can.
Oh,
yeah,
it's not fair at all.
Yeah, it don't matter. He's running up the score right now. I miss Ari Reid. Yo, somebody better get Ari Reid on the phone, man. If Ari Reid was Senate leader, this would not have happened. Any of this.
Well, Harry Reid would have been like, let's just give an extra $1 billion to West Virginia so we can shut this guy up.
I don't think freaking Chuck Schumer is marshaling the Senate good. Like
he's not.
Pelosi can marshal the House with a slim majority too, and to get progressive on our side every time. Whenever it comes to pass a bill in the House, no matter how much uproar or whatever, when time comes to vote, it's still buck stop here.
Everyone falls in line.
Everyone falls in line.
So I was actually kind of thinking about this the other day. I was like, okay, so who are the Republican version of like Manchin and Sinema? Right. So like remember when Trump was in power, like who were like the Republicans that are like, we can't do this?
Sadly, it's Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski.
But I don't think I don't think they held up legislation though.
No,
never.
Susan
They
Collins,
never were.
Right.
Susan Collins would just take long to vote, and every time.
See, Kev, you fell into that trap where you try to make sure do this thing where the Republicans and Democrats are mirror images of each other. They're not.
You're right.
They're not the same. They're not operating.
Mitch McConnell was coming
in the same world. No.
Mitch McConnell was coming in that place, and he making sure everybody voting the party line. And Susan Collins trusted him. She was running a troubled seat. Was about to lose. They threw all the backing behind her, still defended her, everything. Even when everybody was like, oh, it's an easy seat for the Democrats to win. It was not. We lost.
Nah, they lied on us. They made Sarah Gideon seem like inevitable.
I don't know. It's just nuts to me that
you remember that, Marcus?
I remember. I was like, I thought Susan Collins was obviously gone, and it was like, no, she won easily.
She won easily. I thought the same thing about Lindsey Graham. I thought he was out.
Lindsey Graham.
Mitch
McConnell. Mitch McConnell was supposed to be in trouble up until like the last 2 months, and I was like, oh no,
I didn't think Mitch. Yeah, Mitch McConnell was
the Air Force lady.
Yes, the Air Force
Amy
lady.
Amy McGrath.
Yeah, so
Jamie and Jamie guy was supposed to take Lindsey Graham seat.
Jamie Harrison. Didn't he get a job with the Biden
Yeah,
administration? He's the
he's
head of the
running
DNC, right?
Yep.
Yes,
running
yeah,
the
he's headed to
DNC.
DNC right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice to see we can fail up too. Good for him.
No, I mean, hey, if he
I
made
mean,
South
Pete
Carolina
Buttigieg-
somewhat competitive, good
Pete
for you,
Buttigieg-
man.
Pete Buttigieg got a job. Shit.
Big job.
What's his qualification?
Big time job. Can you
He
like?
was the
I think-
mayor
I think-
of South Bend, Indiana, which is like the third or fourth biggest city in Indiana.
He was
they're more-
also
I
a
think-
consultant at McKinsey, I believe. Either McKinsey
that-
or Bain, one of those two.
I think there are more
McKinsey.
people living on my block than live in South Bend, Indiana.
You're probably right.
Hey, he's our transportation secretary. So
What he knows about what does Pete Buttigieg know about transportation? It's probably not
Hey.
even public transportation.
Hey.
You got the Notre Dame
Hey.
University of Notre Dame there. They have their own publics. They have their buses and stuff. He has to coordinate that with the town buses and all of that. Like, there's a lot that goes into it.
I think they have like one subway line in South Bend. I'm not really sure. I got to Google that. But
Yeah, maybe like a light
think they
rail.
have- yeah, they have something like that. They have
Yeah.
something like that. So
I'm Googling South Bend right now. Keep potting, y'all.
keep going. I bet. I'm actually dying to like figure out what you're gonna find. Isn't like Michael Jackson from South Bend, or am I making that up?
He's from Gary.
Shit. I'm
From
getting
Gary,
my
Indiana.
I'm
Gary,
getting my
Indiana.
shitty Indiana towns mixed up.
Gary is best known for usually being like the top 5 of, I think, murders every year. Sadly,
I mean, it's also a suburb of Chicago too, so I guess that makes sense.
yeah,
And suffers a lot from white flight.
big time.
That's every major city though.
Especially across the Rust Belt, though. Like Gary got hit hard.
Yeah, I can see that. All right. So moving on to a different topic here. All right, this one is kind of frustrating. So federal judges overseeing the January 6 cases are having a hard time determining how harshly to punish the insurrectionists. Some judges are pointing to the U.S. attorneys who are very lax on the BLM protesters or the Black Lives Matter protesters, and are using this as a precedent to be lenient on the January 6 rioters.
This is insane. How does that compare?
I
One group
don't
tried to
know.
throw-
One is very different from the other, man.
I don't
One
know.
tried to overthrow the country.
I don't
We
know.
literally nearly witnessed a coup.
I don't know what's going on because, like,
Doesn't
okay.
tell us what these if these are conservative judges or liberal judges. Like, do you have a breakdown of that?
I don't have a breakdown of it, so I'm not really sure. These are mostly like DC federal judges that are handling this case. So, for example, the same court that Merrick Garland oversaw, some of those courts are overseeing those cases, right? One of the judges who was Black spoke to reporters. She directly criticized one of her colleagues, who I believe was a conservative white judge, about like being lax on the January 6 protesters. So I want to say it's a little bit of a mixture, but I don't have the demographic breakdown of like the DC federal court system.
Okay.
So
I'm really at a loss of words. I'm sorry. It's like, are you fucking dead ass? Sorry.
no,
My language.
I know. No, I
Like,
mean,
how do you
this is not for
compare
kids.
someone? How do you fucking compare a group that's fighting for for basic civil rights, for equity and equality, to a group that try to overthrow the country? I don't understand the both sidism in the story.
I think the both sides, I don't agree to this. First off, I don't agree to it. But I think the both sidesism that's coming out of this is like, but look at the property damage, the destruction and chaos that came out of it. I think some people, white people, are saying that, oh, look at cities like Portland or look at cities like Atlanta and saw how much like destruction and chaos happened in those cities. And you compare it to like the January 6 riots. I think some of those same people are like, a small percentage of the rioters were violent and did violent stuff.
No.
I think that's the argument.
No,
I don't subscribe to it. I'm just saying I think that's the argument.
The Capitol, you were there that day. You walked into the building. It's like
it's trespassing.
Let's look at the law.
At the very least,
look at somebody, right?
Right.
You do a robbery, right? But I drove you to the robbery. I'm getting charged with that robbery because that's how it works. If somebody dies in the act of that robbery, I'm getting charged with felony murder too. And all I did was drive the car. I wasn't even in the building.
Yeah, no. I don't subscribe to that way of thinking. I was just saying like that is where the both sides of them comes from. I think it's bullshit. So you mean to tell me that if you can go and enter the Capitol building illegally and just roam around and cause property damage, you're okay? What if they did that to the White House? Are you telling me that's okay? Is that the precedent that you're trying to set? That like, hey, we can go to any government building and just like storm it and just like we'd be okay? Is that the precedent that these judges are trying to set? I just don't fully understand it, whatsoever. So
It's also hypocritical as hell to have, conservatives who were railing against Black Lives Matter because of, of the damage that they were doing or the potential for damage that they could do with their protests. And then, turning around and trying to like give these people who ran up in the Capitol building a pass.
right,
Like it's okay.
right.
Like it's just super hypocritical to me to just kind of, oh, it's a problem when your side does it, but then when our guys do it, it's okay. We should be, let off lightly. Like, no, like you guys, the intent of your actions is what's good. It should put them have them see, severe penalties. And I
Right.
think judges should be punishing them and making an example of them because of what they were trying to do. They were trying to overturn an election. They didn't choose January 6th for no reason. There was an intent behind that.
I think these judges kind of need to ask themselves if these people in January 6th were from Iran or from China or from Cuba,
I'm
you
from
know,
Newark, from the
right.
Bronx.
From the
Black people.
we saw how Capitol
Mhm.
Police, who kind of got off scot-free, in my opinion, we saw how they reacted when Black Lives Matter protesters happened in DC. They
Yeah,
were armed up, they're ready to go, they
Hey
listened to their
man,
detail.
hey
There's
man,
no
all y'all have
questions.
to do is look no further than NYPD slamming the police car into protesters. Two police
Yes,
cars. All you have to
yes,
do is look no
yes,
further than
yes,
that, man.
yes. But Capitol
In the
Police.
world we live in.
So since I moved to DC, Capitol Police royally fucked up because these protesters pretty much, if I remember correctly, walked down Independence Mall or close to it, which is Capitol Police territory. And when it got to like the Capitol building, Capitol Police didn't call for backup. And I know like the news was saying like, oh, but the National Guard and Trump, there are so many law enforcement agencies in DC and they didn't call for backup, which is like a nuts thing to think about. So
yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing is just like kind of crazy and it's kind of scary. It's like, why the hell are we spending so much money on Homeland Security if this is what's going to happen? This is like the end result. So
That's a very good question too. I don't think I've heard that anyone bring that up either in the 8 months, 9 months since this happened.
Marcus, so every federal department has its own police force.
Yep.
That's one, right?
Yeah.
DC has its own police force, right? That's two. DC is also close to Arlington. Arlington is right across the bridge. There
Yeah.
are so many small suburban towns in Maryland that border DC. They could
Yeah.
have came. The state police for Virginia could have came. The state police from Maryland could have showed up. Like I know people were saying like, "What about the National Guard? Trump didn't call them." Cool, that's on Trump. But Capitol Police chiefs could have called for backup and gotten so many cops in that area
Yeah, it
instantly.
wasn't until hours later the governor, like I remember the governor of Virginia, like sent in the state police, like like 3 or 4 hours into the ordeal. Like,
Right.
oh, okay, let's send them in. But that was, on the governor's call. That wasn't anyone else. It wasn't president or
Right.
anyone from within the Capitol Police. They just kind of sat on their hands.
They just sat on their hands. The Capitol Police could have easily called up the governor of Virginia, who's a
Yeah.
Democrat, and been like, "We need some backup. Send over some cops." Could have called up the mayor of Arlington. We need some cops.
Governor
Or
of
they,
Governor of Maryland is a Republican, Larry Hogan.
or how about this? Isn't there not like a contingency plan in place if this type of thing were to happen and the National Guard cannot react fast enough? Shouldn't like there be plans already in place for this?
Insane, bro. It's so insane.
Like
It's nuts.
I don't know, man. Like since moving here, I'm like, how the
Red
hell? But whatever.
paperwork stop the National Guard from stopping the country being overthrown.
But okay, the National Guard in the United States, I believe since was it the Boiling Springs incident, they cannot do like any type of law enforcement whatsoever. They're just more so deterrent. So they can show up, they can kind of push you out the way, but that's really all they can really do.
Oh, they sure needed some pushing on January 6th.
They did, but like you can call for law enforcement backup. Like we all know how lenient the law is for cops. They can definitely get in there and help clear the area very quickly. We saw it during the Black Lives Matter protests how cops just shot tear gas and like cleared out the areas pretty quickly. I am just kind of shocked that they didn't call for backup to like
Still
do the
on
same
that,
thing
those
here.
judges being so freaking blatantly racist.
It's just like another example of like, we are only 13% of the population. And so like incidents like this kind of just emphasize like, we're 13% of the population. So like we're not really going to get like much sympathy from our government, unfortunately, when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah, it's a fact, sadly.
All right. So I know, like on a lighter note, did you guys see that Kirsten Sinema was chased into a bathroom in Arizona State? Deadass.
I
She
don't
was
follow Kirsten Sinema news.
No, this is funny. Kirsten Sinema news. She was chased into a bathroom by protesters at Arizona State.
I gotta look this up. That's hilarious.
She was chased into it. And so she was crying. Now I'm saying crying like how we say crying, but she was crying like on TV or whatever, saying that this was illegal, they should go to jail, stuff like that. So yeah, so Kirsten Sinema got chased into a bathroom from Arizona State. So shout out to the protesters there.
Shout out, raise, give them hell, Devils. I think she was actually, ASU. I think I said it before, but she was when I went to Arizona State, she was actually my TA for one of my classes there.
Are you serious?
Kirsten Sinema, yeah. Took a movements, black social justice, black movements in America class. She was my teacher's assistant when I was there. Yeah, she got her graduate degree from there. I think maybe her law degree, one of the two. But yeah, so it's funny that she goes back there and they chased her. Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. She was like in the middle of teaching class, and like the protesters came to the class.
I forgot that she still teaches.
She left her job at DC because she's supposed to be like a politician, a senator, debating what she wants because she's the one that's bitching about spending too much, and she left to go teach a class in Arizona State. So yeah, shout out to the protesters.
That's hilarious.
Oh, she has a master's in social work at JD and a PhD from Arizona State.
Yep.
Yeah, I think she's actually like pretty smart, like academic wise. I think she's like really smart.
Yeah, but,
she just likes all those corporate dollars. That's all.
She just likes.
She reminds me of one of those fake woke liberal person. That's what she is.
I mean, that's
latte
fair.
liberals. That's what they call them.
What is it? The lunch liberals or brunch liberals? Was the term, I think? One of them.
Hey, I mean, hey, she's found the money. She's going after it. I don't think she cares about anything else. All right. So to wrap up what's going on in Capitol Hill, I'm sure you guys are fully aware. There is a debt ceiling, which I am waiting for someone to explain to me why the hell we have a debt ceiling. And Republicans are refusing to help Democrats raise it. But Chuck Schumer is going to put in place a vote on Wednesday to kind of pretty much have Republicans put their money where their mouth is. But yeah, I'm still in awe. Like, why do we have a debt ceiling? It's the dumbest thing in the world. Like, I don't understand it.
When we hold most of the money to ourselves.
It's just like, if I understand government correctly, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but this year's budget was negotiated last year.
In some aspect, because what the government do, they just do continuation. That's how the government is operating right now, because normally what we do, I think they call it a continuation. So since you can't agree on a budget for the year, you agree for a short-term budget that lasts the government till December. Or every 3 months they would just re-up. That's what happened when Ted Cruz and them was shutting down the government.
Oh yeah, the Ted Cruz government shutdown, which is one of the dumbest things that ever happened. Okay, so I learned something new there. That's cool. I don't know. I just think it's just kind of dumb that like if we are doing
Oh no,
that,
it's a horrible idea, bro.
yeah,
But again, government bureaucracy, nothing but red tape and stupidness.
yeah. I don't know. It's like, well, what do
And
you
you
want
want
to
to know
do?
the funny thing is that this vote was normally just a formality. It has been a formality for most of our existence since Alexander Hamilton created the idea of a national debt, created the idea of a national bank and stuff like that.
Right. And so now it's just being used. I guess in recent era, it's been used as like more of a political tool. That's kind of crazy.
Very crazy.
All right. So the last thing that I have here on this agenda today. So if you guys didn't know, George Floyd back in 2004 was arrested in Houston, Texas. So he was arrested on a narcotics charge. And get this, the cop that arrested him was a fucking liar. So the cop that arrested him, recently him and some other cops in Houston were arrested for fabricating evidence. And such as this fabrication includes that this cop created an imaginary informant. And so now it's up to the Texas governor to either accept
that's not happening.
I think it might happen, but George Floyd might get pardoned for this.
You trust Greg Abbott? That's his name. Pardon George Floyd.
I think it might happen.
I think you're smoking crack at Howard, my brother. You need to leave Howard and come to American University. We won't do that to you, bro. Just come across the street, bro. They're losing you over there, bro.
Oh wow! Come on, myself. Okay.
Come across the street, bro.
All right.
Yeah, I admire your optimism there, Kev. But come on,
that's a wild thinking, bro.
No,
he's not doing that.
I think that he's gonna do this to be like, hey, I'm not racist. I think this is probably what he's gonna do.
He's fine being seen as a racist. That doesn't bother him.
He's not gonna get, as George Wallace said when he lost the governor race, I got out niggered. He's not getting out niggered. He's not getting out niggered in a Trump state.
Oh, but he really said that?
Yes, he said that. George Wallace was a moderate, like centrist before he become segregation now, segregation forever, whatever. He was a moderate person and he ran for governor on that kind of civil rights. Everybody deserved this, blah, blah, blah. Christian values, kind of middle of the road Mitt Romney guy. And when he lost, he said, I got out niggered. And his speechwriter put in the thing for his next campaign. Segregation now, segregation now, it's segregation forever. And he said it. And he told himself he would never get out niggered again. You can search up the quote.
I believe you. I know George Wallace is a very nasty man. I just never heard it. I guess for obvious reasons, but that's a really nasty quote.
You see, when you study politics, they force you to learn these abstract madness.
So you're learning critical race theory, basically.
Oh no, like critical race theory is a part of my political journey.
Right.
I go to liberal universities.
No, that's a wild ass thing though.
It says I just searched it up to make sure I wasn't butted, but I lose my mind. He said, I was out niggered and I will never be out niggered again. In 1959.
I was gonna say 1949 sounds
49 is early.
You gotta bump that timeline a little bit. 1959 sounds about right.
Yeah, man. He said, he gave a speech, man. Like he said, like I got out niggered. It's never happening again. I will make sure it was never happen again. And he said, and I tell you here, and I tell you now, I'll never be out niggered again. I'm like, wow, that's wild. Coming from he was an anti-segregationist, man.
Yeah, I mean, he should have had gunshots in the background. I feel like
that's a wild pivot. Need the funk flex air horns to go with it too. That's nuts.
Oh shit. I think what was nuts was Philadelphia had a super racist mayor.
Rizzo, right?
Yeah, Mayor Rizzo, super racist. And I think when he lost, he did a crazy pivot to be like, hey guys, I'm pro-black now. And so like he started campaigning like black neighborhoods and stuff like that for like the first time ever in his political career.
I mean, George Wallace basically did the same thing at the end of his career. He pivoted to try to become like a civil rights icon. He said, "I was wrong. Those days are over, and they ought to be over." In 1970, bro, this is 20 years ago, bro.
Oh my God.
How much growing up here you have done?
I feel like there's a limit on forgiveness, right? It's like you were an adult. You knew exactly what you were saying. You knew exactly what you're doing. You knew the harm it caused. Like, fuck off. Like, it's simple as that. But all right. So unless you guys got something, that's all I had on my agenda for today.
Yeah.
I think we covered all the big things that are happening.
I think so too. It's just been, it feels like it's been a similar news cycle like every day, right? So Democrats are negotiating amongst themselves on an aid package that, you know, America voted for, but somehow can't get. So I don't know. It's been the same thing like every single day. So hopefully like next week we could get some more exciting news. Hopefully like, you know, Mansion of Cinema sinks this bill so we could talk about it.
I mean,
something
do you
along those
guys
lines.
miss Trump at this point? We're almost a year out from the last election. Would it be more fun if Trump was in here trying to, you know, turn this into a Handmaid's Tale kind of situation?
I think
Hey,
we
I heard Trump was about
probably
to declare.
okay. This is my hill. I think we would have had a bigger infrastructure bill under Trump. That is my hill.
Of course.
Yeah, it'd be that basic, like, you know, oh, you're just gonna make all the bridges and tunnels and roads, and then he just cut a check to his construction buddies.
For what they call
Right.
real Americans.
Yeah,
Right.
real infrastructure, not this, you know, communist liberal, you know, climate change BS they're trying to do to turn us into China.
Yeah, we're
Whatever.
not gonna have the climate. We're not even gonna get a climate change thing even out of this. I think that's probably gonna be one of the first things we're gonna scrap. Either that, well, I don't know why. Like, why do Democrats like when they're running for president always say like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna tackle like healthcare costs"? Like, no, you're not. Like,
None of
you're
that's
not.
happening.
Like,
No.
like you're not. Like, I think one of the first things is gonna go is Medicare negotiating drug prices. That's gonna be the first thing to go.
Yeah, Cinema's not budging on that.
She's not budging on that.
I think there's like 10 like Democratic House members that don't want to.
They don't want
It's going
to.
to quote unquote stifle innovation.
Right. Which I just
Makes no
don't
sense.
doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
Like, just say that you've been bought by by big pharma already, and keep it moving.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
You don't even know what that means. Come on.
Right. Right. Exactly. Let's be like, I can't because my donors don't like it. Boom,
Just say,
got it.
Just come on and
just
be
be
real with
honest.
us, man.
Thank
Just
you.
we'll
Like,
respect the hell out of you.
I would
You're
respect
not
that.
donating to my campaign.
Like, you know
Wall
what?
Street
Maybe they
elect
know
me.
something. Exactly. Maybe we'll be like, look, you know, the industry is saying don't do this. Maybe there's a point to that, rather than just making up nonsense. Come on.
Oh, I'm for the
Right.
common people, man. I'm for the little
Like,
guy.
no, you're not.
My father owned a small bar in blah blah blah, middle of nowhere America, and I came up the hard way. All that time his father owned 10 bars, all of that wild stuff.
Well, you know, like the hard way for them is like they went to public school as opposed to private school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or they went to Arizona State as opposed to like Princeton.
And then
went to a state school.
Right.
And then Republicans are like, I know what real Iowa. No, Georgians, George Brian Kemp be like, I work every day. I got a gun. I got a big gun. I got a big truck to pack up all illegal immigrants. I'm like, bro, what the fuck?
Well, first off, Georgia doesn't have a border. So it's like, what illegal immigrants are you talking about?
That's not one of your issues, guys.
Do you mean like people from Florida moving up? Like, what are you talking about?
That's like South Dakota. South Dakota's governor, Kristi Noem, sending like I think she sent her National Guard down to the border.
All
to
50 soldiers in South Dakota were deployed.
South Dakota, what are you doing?
to the border.
This is not your issue.
And they have no authority to do anything once you get to the border. It's like no authority. Oh my God. Yeah. What else is going to be scrapped? Climate change. Money towards climate change. That's probably going to be scrapped.
Funding for HBCUs is on the chopping block. I read the other day.
Are you serious? That normally always passes.
So I saw, yeah, I saw that. I think they said, I forget the numbers. It may have been, let's say it was like 50 billion, and now they're gonna cut like 30 billion after that, so you get 20 out of the 50 instead. It wasn't like it was from a, I don't, I'm questioning the source just because I never heard of the site before, but that's apparently
Right.
one of the things that's on the chopping block. HBCU funding, which was supposed to be a part of this more liberal bill that they wanted to put together, but yeah, that's been on the chopping block, which
All
is
right.
going to put is bad for Biden, obviously.
Republican Kev's about to come out here in a second.
Shit.
How the hell are you going to rely on the black vote?
Remember, you go to Howard, bro.
No, I'll just say I'm biased. You're right. How the hell are you going to rely on
Republican
the black vote
Kev at Howard, yeah,
to get elected? And then you're gonna turn around and then screw the black vote. Like we didn't get any police reform, we didn't get any voter reform, and you're reducing the budget for like HBCU funding.
All I gotta say is Jim Clyburn didn't do his research properly, man. When he endorsed him for South Carolina, Joe Biden should never been president, bro. That South Carolina, when after South Carolina, he became president. He became president.
He did. Everybody, a bunch of people dropped out right after that.
But Joe Biden's like one of those politicians. Like literally, if it wasn't for black people, he wouldn't be president. Mm-hmm. Barack Obama made him VP, black person number one, and then the James Kleinberg pretty much catapulted him into the presidency, black person number two. How the hell are you going to turn around and just be like, well, you know what, we can't do this now? That makes no sense to me.
It's not a good look. I'm hoping that it's good reporting, but it's not a good look.
He started his term being anti-black, and nobody can tell me nothing. He went on the leader and went on the phone with all the black leaders and tell them that ain't happening.
I just don't know, like in 2022, when you're going down into like Atlanta, for example, what the hell are you going to market? Like, what is going to be like the campaign cry? Because like nothing happened for black people, really. Like so far in his presidency,
and a lot of black people have started to say, "Oh, I wish I'd voted for Trump, or bring Trump back."
Yeah, I'm just
especially the younger black folks, and it's troubling. But the party hasn't sold to black people, and it's not the current day voters aren't like, oh, I'm gonna get up and vote for my mama, who my mama voted for, or who my father voted for. They're not like that. Or who my grandmother voted for. They're not voting like that no more.
I mean, this is just the issue of like the two-party system, but it's just like I just don't know, like, what's your selling point? I just don't get like what the selling point is. It's like, oh, the other side is bad, but yet our Republican governor and state legislature is doing all those bad things that you're not really doing to protect us on. You know what I mean? It's just like I don't understand like what the selling point is like going into 2022.
They don't have one.
It just feels like
I got a question for you. Yeah. Did anyone think Biden was going to actually be the person for black voters? Because I think we knew this going into the election. I think it was just like,
but I didn't know it was going to be so bad.
Right. We got
I didn't have the highest. Yeah, I wasn't expecting him to like, you know, if there was like that black the plan that Ice Cube. I didn't expect him to like, you know, deliver like a bulleted list of like things to black voters right away.
Right.
But something would have give, bro.
Yeah, something. I think taking away things or not like, or just coming out right away and just saying, yeah, we're not making any moves on police reform or anything that matters to black voters. We're not doing that. I think that was a mistake. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have had, at least it's kind of like when you work in corporate, we all do that. You kind of kick things down the road. You just say, yo, I'll get back to you on that. You know, it's not a priority, but it's something we want to work on. He should have said something like that. When you let it get out there that you're not going to work on something that matters to people, that's going to create this rift that we're seeing, you know, 8 months later. That's, you know, that's a problem. And it's going to continue to be a problem until he delivers for those voters.
Yeah, no, 100% true. I mean, like, in terms of representation, I'll give him credit. For example, Kamala Harris being the first Black female vice president, that's pretty big. We had the first Black defense secretary, that's also pretty huge. So I'll give him credit on, like, you know, definitely his cabinet has like the representation in there. But what kind of rubbed me the wrong way was how Biden bent over backwards for this bipartisan infrastructure bill, which I'm not criticizing, but when it came to like, you know, the John Lewis Act or like the Voting Rights Act or, you know, whatever, he didn't. He was really quiet. You know what I mean? Like he was very, very quiet, like going into it. Like he didn't bring Republicans in, like had that whole bipartisan
sound
luncheon.
Off anything. It didn't do nothing.
Right.
Like
no, and that was his big.
It isn't. Black rights aren't a priority for Joe Biden.
Right. And like black people got you to that seat. And it's like
black people funded the campaign.
Where's the return on investment?
Like you don't win Georgia, like this whole thing gets kind of it's scary for you, Joe.
Right. You can literally point to Stacey Abrams. Like, what's Stacey Abrams gonna go to Georgia and be like,
2 black women?
What are we gonna do?
Stacey Abrams delivered Georgia, and Kamala Harris delivered the funding needed.
Right.
For your campaign.
Right.
Your campaign was a shitty fundraising campaign. She brought in all of that expertise. She brought in all the foundation's donations. Like, what are we doing?
I do wonder too. Like he's such a like part of his appeal, part of his selling point was that he could work across the aisle. He's the centrist that has friends on the Republican side.
Seen it done.
Thank you.
Not seen it
we haven't seen any of that.
Thank you.
He's supposed to be working. He can't even get Joe Manchin to get on board. With his platform. So it's like, okay, your selling point was that not just that you're not Trump, but you can work with Republicans in order to get things done for America. Here we are 8 months later. You can't even get your top legislation done. You're still sitting here on October.
Line vote. You can't even get a party line vote through. Can't even That's do the that. Crazy part.
It's cause for concern. You look like a weak leader.
Right. And then like on top of that, okay, you have that. Let's say Republicans are getting more polarizing or more extreme in their methods, then why not back getting rid of the filibuster while you still hold the White House? You still have the power to veto in case you lose Congress. I don't understand it.
Because he don't care, bro. He don't
care. I actually don't want to get rid of the filibuster.
I think we should.
I don't want to get rid of the filibuster because we lose in the Senate in a couple of years.
Yeah, that's my thing. Year. We're gonna lose it next year, or the Senate map just doesn't work for us. So like if we clear out the deck that way and we're just letting Republicans do whatever they want before without the 60 vote threshold to keep them reined in.
Well, they did that. They suspended all that thing to get a lot of people nominated. I think they did it for Coney Barrett.
They did
it for what's up?
They're able to do it. Yeah, they're able to do it for
it.
Yeah, they chip away at it.
They chip away at it.
And they did it for the other Supreme Court justice. It was
Gorsuch.
Gorsuch. It was actually not that bad.
Or the guy, or the guy that came
not Gorsuch. What's his name? Not Gorsuch. The dude that took Merrick Garland's seat, I think.
Now Gorsuch took Garland's seat. It was the guy.
The guy that was like, he was drinking beers and he had that sexual assault thing.
I'm blanking on his name now.
I'm blanking on his name too, but I do remember that testimony.
He drinking.
Yeah, he just got COVID like a week ago.
My man cried on national TV too, man. That's like a grown man crying, like a 50-year-old man just crying on national TV.
Amy Coney Barrett really is a Supreme Court justice with zero experience.
Well, the Supreme Court.
Brett Kavanaugh is his name.
Oh yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett is such a douchebag name. I'm sorry to all the Bretts.
It is, but if I do see him at the bar, I would, go drinking with him. He does seem like a good drinking buddy to have. So
he definitely pay for a couple of your rounds for sure.
Probably the entire tab, to be honest. So.
I mean, as much money as he's getting from the Federal Society, I hope so.
We're not supposed to talk about that. The
Federalist Society controls the United States Supreme Court.
I mean, yeah, at this point, yeah, they have like a 5-4 majority, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think
a 5-3, I think.
So they'll say 5-4 because the Chief Justice pretends to be like a moderate.
Nah, he's conservative. He's conservative as hell. Come on.
That's Kennedy, I think.
No. Roberts.
Chief
Justice John Roberts.
Yeah, John Roberts.
Roberts Courts.
Yes, he's been like this quote unquote swing vote. That's what he's trying to position himself as.
If Roberts is the swing vote, we're in a horrible situation, dog.
Oh, no. This next Supreme Court term is very scary. Like they're going to take on some very big controversial issues, and it's going to be a very scary outcome. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. All right. So I know I said this before. That's literally all I have for this podcast. So thank you for listening, guys. Please like this. Please subscribe to it on our YouTube page. Please share it with your friends and family. Please follow us on Twitter. What else we got? What else got? Twitter. Oh, please follow us on IG if it's back up again and it's running. Follow us on our Twitter page. So that's all I got for you guys, and we're out.